We are live.
Beautiful. Shyla, hi, welcome everyone. My name is Jen Giffen. I hope you are here for what we're here for, and that's AI in the Library Learning Commons. I'm going to throw it over to our MC for the day to get us started with all of our housekeeping stuff, and then I will be back. Before I do that, though, I am Jen Giffen. I'm your presenter today. I'm coming to you from Richmond Hill, which is just a wee bit north of Toronto, Ontario. I'm on the Williams Treaty. I use the pronouns she and her, and you can find me on social media at Virtual GIF. I was very active on Twitter. I refuse to call it the other thing. And I've recently moved over to Blue Sky and I'm loving it. So I hope to see you there. And of course, I'm on Instagram as well. Virtual GIF. Shyla, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Jen. It's such a pleasure to work with you. We've worked together in the past. I'm so excited to be here and to be your MC for today. And you said Blue Sky. I have no idea what that is. So hopefully we'll have to connect about that soon. So welcome, everybody. I'm Shyla Damji, and I am going to be your MC admin. I'm going to drop links for you in the chat. And I also use the pronouns she and her. So let's get started with today's learning. So before we begin, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land I'm joining from today. I am located on the traditional territories of the Williams Treaties First Nation, which include the Chippewa and Mississauga peoples. I recognize the enduring presence of Indigenous communities on this land as well as their deep connection to it, which continues to this day. As we gather virtually with educators from around the world, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the land you are on, its history, and the Indigenous peoples who have cared for it for generations. May this acknowledgement inspire us all to learn more, fostering meaningful relationships and commitment to reconciliation wherever we are. And Jen and I are both actually on the same treaty land. So thank you so much. Also, if you'd like to find out more about the land that you're on, you can go to native-land.ca. It's a really great resource to use with your students and for yourself as well. Hi to everybody in the chat as well. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'd like to thank Logix Academy for hosting this particular session. If you'd like to see some of their other resources and learn more about their events, please visit their website, which is on screen, and I'll drop it in the chat for you as well. And they're also on social, so please make sure you check them out on Twitter or X. So these are some of the partners that Logic has. One of my favorite is Minecraft with Microsoft, but there are also professional learning providers with Apple, Google Cloud partners, and partners with Education Global Training Partner as well. And here are an overview of some of the things that you may be able to get for you students in your schools. Logix partners with manufacturers, so they're inclusive distributor of some of the products that you see on the screen. They're really beneficial for your students. They help with pedagogy, they help with curriculum. So really, if you'd like to purchase any of their products, please check out the Logix website that's on the screen, and I've also dropped it in the chat for you. Some great things there. I know I was playing with dashes, so I love them and my child loves them as well. So really check them out. So as you know, we have many events that we host. So if you'd like to learn more about some of the live events, please go to logixacademy.com. And every day during the week of CS Ed Week from 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there's some amazing sessions that are coming up. I know I'm going to check out the coding ones. So make sure you join in and register to check them out as well with your students. Thank you. Microsoft is hosting these sessions for us. So thank you for the funding for this event and the incredible knowledge and information that you're going to learn from these events. And if you're not watching live and you're watching them later, we do appreciate you coming and checking our videos out. So thank you so much. And now, further ado, for Jen Giff, who's going to talk to you about AI in the library.
Thank you, Shyla. I can't wait to actually go back. And I was looking at the schedule. Today, we have 3 different sessions, so 3 hours of learning. And I think there's 4. So there's 12 different AI learning opportunities for educators today. And when I saw mine, I'm like, oh, but I want to watch that and I want to watch that. And so I'm so happy they are being recorded and we can go back and share them. So please feel free to go back and explore more and tell people who maybe weren't available or didn't learn about it until, I realized I was remiss in telling my own staff at my school, like, hey, we're doing this thing on the weekend. Oops. So I'm going to share with them. So you can definitely watch in time afterwards. So I am a high school teacher librarian. I have been a teacher librarian since September 2019. It's such a wonderful, beautiful place to be. I imagine many of you who are going to be joining live here that I see, or people who are going to join after the fact, are librarians, teacher librarians themselves, or work in some capacity with their library learning commons. And so I'm going to focus on that. But a lot of the stuff that I'm going to share might also resonate with you if you're a classroom teacher, an educator in another capacity. Feel free at any point to drop any question in that YouTube chat. We are a little bit ahead of you. There's a bit of a delay. So when you ask a question with some context, like, oh, that's cool, can you tell me more about it? Tell me what the it is so that we know. Shyla is going to jump in at any point. If I don't see the question, you'll see me sort of looking like this. If you're seeing me there, that's where my screen is, where I can see some of the questions. So let's get started. Here is my plan for today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my AI journey, share some of my favorite uses that I've been using lately, and then some of my favorite tools, and then some ideas that I might have for moving forward. And I'm hoping there might be lots of sharing in real time here with those of you who are watching on YouTube, or just Shyla and I bouncing ideas around, because she has a district role. We work in the same district, in York Region District School Board. We used to be on the same team before I came into my teacher librarian role. So she's probably seeing a lot of different things, and she's been at the table for creating policies and that, so we can have a little talk there as we wait for stuff to roll in. But anyway, we're not there yet. So let's talk about December the 5th, 2023, a day that will forever be engraved in my brain and in my life. I'm walking down the hall and I run into my colleague, Gary, and Gary's this like young hip guy. And he says to me, he's like, hey, have you checked out that Chat GPT GIF? And I was like, you know what? Because he knew that I was a digital literacy consultant before I became a librarian. I'm super ed techie and I love this world. And I said, you know what? I've been hearing about it. And I'm a big believer that things in the universe come to you. Like if it comes in a third time, then I'm like, I got to check it out. So, if I see it on the news and then someone talks to me about it and I get an email, I'm like, going to dive into this. I do this a lot with books. So I said, you know what? You are the third. Tell me about it. And he's like, what? So I explained him my third thing. And he's like, yeah, it's this. And he starts explaining Chat GPT to me. And as he's explaining, I'm like, what is it? I literally felt myself step over the threshold into a new era. And I'm not trying to trigger those of us who didn't get Eras tour tickets by saying that word. So I do apologize if that was triggering for you and you're not going to see Taylor, because I know I'm devastated today. But anyway, so I jump over the threshold and I'm like, okay, tell me more about this. And we start chatting and we're like, oh my God, there's this and this is amazing. And I was just like completely, my mind was blown about what this could do. And I immediately went in and I just started playing. And I was doing things that were so simple. And the more I read about it, and the more I learned about it, and the more I speak to people, and that's the richest way I've learned. And I've attended some conferences and talked to educators. I'm constantly amazed at where we are with AI and what it looks like in education and how it can really do such wonderful things. With caution, I will acknowledge that. I'm sure there are some people who might be here watching and like, oh, but what about this? And they have pushback, and we're right to have that, right? We are gatekeepers for children. So we need to make sure we're using it responsibly. So the first thing I decided to do was say, like, let's not dive in with kids, but let's share with staff. So as a teacher librarian, I have the unique ability to reach out instead of just to one department, but to all departments. And I created things that look like this that you see on the screen. They are one-pager AI for educators. And that's it. It's literally, everyone was like, what it does, why you love it, ways to use it, maybe how to log in. Some of them that I shared, I was very transparent that you cannot use single sign-in with our Google accounts or our Microsoft accounts in York Region. It's not open. This is not something you should be using with students yet, because it hasn't been vetted, because student privacy does need to be of paramount importance and top of mind for all educators when using any ed tech tool, not just AI. But I created these and I said, go play, because we know our students are using this. And if we don't understand what's going on, then how are we going to help them and how are we going to protect them? It's a big reason that I'm involved with social media, too. I get in there. I had a friend once who said to me, "Are you on TikTok?" And I was like, "No, I'm not on TikTok. Why would I go on TikTok?" She was like, "That's your market." She's a marketing executive. And she's like, "You need to know what they're thinking and what they're doing. Like, how are you going to really have your finger on the pulse of those people if you're not seeing how they're using things?" And for me, it was also like, yeah, and how am I going to know how to help them if they get into trouble? How am I going to know how to show them how to use this responsibly? I think of Jennifer Casatodd's work around social media, right? And this idea of using social media for good. And I sort of saw myself as that same sort of champion with AI. So I created a whole bunch of different AI for educators. I was releasing them initially every week, and then people thought they're like, "It's so much, Jen, I'm not getting to it." So I got some feedback, and they said, "How about every other week?" So I did it, and I released them, and they were always there. And we have a staff website, so they can visit there. And some people now are like, "Oh, I just saw that you did this one, and I've just discovered it." So I have these. I believe they're shared. Shyla is more than welcome to put the link to this folder if you want to see them or use them with your own staff. The only thing that I ask is if you are going to use them, the credit where credit is due, of course, and make sure that my citation that I created it stays on there. I even used AI to help me create some of these. So sometimes I'd be like, okay, go into Copilot or go into Gemini or go into Chat GPT, whatever your chatbot of choice is, and I'd say, tell me a bit about this tool, and then I would tweak it for however it worked. So it was really, really well received. Teachers really loved it. So that was the first thing I did. And then the next thing I did was like, I'm going to actually, now that I know a little bit about these tools, I'm going to make sort of a workflow. So this was my first workflow. The French department in my school came and said, "Hey, can you do how to make a cheat sheet for our grade 9 and 10 French students so that they know how to make this effectively, so they just don't dump a whole bunch of garbage onto their sheet?" And we know how students can do this. So I said, "Yeah, okay, I can do that. No problem." "Oh, good morning, Brian Carpenter. What a lovely thing to see your name in the chat there." So I created this, Mastering the Art of Creating Effective Cheat Sheet. And here it is. So, you go around. I said, okay, first of all, I wanted to put passé composé on it. So we did this. Here are your answers. Okay. So that's without a cheat sheet. Now let's do the cheat sheet. And don't worry, I'm getting to AI. So I'm going through and I'm like, okay, here's the keys to using it. Let's talk about sticky notes. Let's give this a go. Let's prepare your cheat sheet and what you want to do. Let's look at writing tips. And I'm going through and I'm explaining all of this. And then I get to this one. I'm like, okay, we're going to do a small group activity. There's an envelope there. That's what you're going to do. But before I do this, I want to tell you, I've created this entire presentation using AI. And the kids are like, what? Why is the teacher cheating? and I thought it was so funny oh, you're welcome, Faye. You're welcome for the access. I thought it was such a funny way for them to react, but not at all unexpected. And they're like, what do you mean used AI? I'm like, I didn't just say like, come up with lesson and it came up with it, because at the time it wasn't that advanced. I probably could do that now, but I said, here's what I did. I went and I started asking chatbots, like, if you were to do this with grade 9 and 10 students, teach them how to use a cheat sheet, how would you do that? What would you include? And so I came up with like a list of crazy amounts of things. And then I went and I looked at nearby post-secondary institutions like York University here. I went to Georgian College. I went to a few of them. And I uploaded documents. Actually, at the time, I don't think I could do that. Let me backtrack, because we can do that now. I don't think at the time. I think I cut and paste documents. And I said, can you summarize these for me? And then I took everything that AI had created and I put it into a Google Doc. And I then manually put them into sections. I was like, okay, this is about this, this is about this. I could have asked AI to do this, but I wanted to really know the content. So because of that, I didn't ask AI, because I don't want to lose that creative thought, and I don't want to not understand or have a surface level knowledge. And I'm explaining all this exactly as I'm explaining to you to the students. So then I used a program called Plus AI, and that's Plus AI that you see here. Unfortunately, Plus AI at the time was free and is now behind a bit of a paywall. So there are a lot of others, but what I did with Plus AI was I took that Google Doc that I had, and you can see it here, and I opened the sidebar, and on the sidebar, I was able to upload that document. I said, create my slides for me. So all those slides that you saw here, they put the information in. I had to format it. I moved some things around. I added some things, because I didn't just willy-nilly, that we see, a lot of people doing, just cutting and pasting. I didn't do that. I did it with purpose. But think of the time I just saved. Like, I have all my notes, and now I'm like, now I just want the slides. Like put them once on each slide. That's totally an AI task to me. That's the robots in my computer doing it. I don't have to think about that. There's not a lot of like heavy lifting, but it takes time, and time is our currency. So, and then finally, my final step I explained to the students was when I look up pictures of students doing things, it doesn't, or when I looked at things like a cheat sheet, I didn't necessarily find what I wanted. So I used another tool called Microsoft Designer, which I'm going to get to later in the presentation. And I said, create this. So in this, I said, create a picture of students from a diverse background in a library doing an activity with slips of paper that came out of envelopes, because that's exactly what the activity was. And so you see this is very representative of how the students look in my school. It is AI, so you may or may not notice that down in this area here, the hand and the arm is kind of backwards, and there's something weird here. And on some of the like cheat sheets, it's spelled wrong. And the kids, that was the first thing the students noticed. But they were like, wow. And I said, yeah, this is how we can use it responsibly. I'm thinking, but I'm using it as a thought partner. I'm using it to help save me some time so that I can focus my energy onto like the activities I wanted to do with you, not creating a slide deck and then being like, I ran out of time on my prep, or I can't work on this tonight, because Lord knows we're all working at night too. So it was game changing for me. And that was my first workflow. And that's how I've continued to use it. Now I still wouldn't consider myself a super user, but I think that there's a lot of things we can do. So when I'm thinking myself as a teacher librarian, or just a teacher in general, which is why I put librarian in those parentheses, these are a half dozen ideas that I would use. Good morning, Charity. What's up, bro? So the first thing is we have a department plan right now to support mental wellness in our library learning commons. So the first thing that I do is I'm like, okay, this is great. I need to actually like create stuff for this. And you'll see those like the 5 fingers, the dragon puffs, the ocean waves, or breathing exercises. Those were things that I found that were already baked into Canva. And there is a session, I believe it's running right now, or maybe it's the next one. Is it the next one? I think it's in our next time block here in the Explore AI Summit, where they're talking about, it's Maggie, and it's, oh gosh, I don't remember. It's going to come to me. Anyway, it will come to me. They're doing one next. So if you want to learn more, I'm just going to like briefly touch on AI and Canva, but here we go. So I'm going to close tabs as we go, because I have so much open and I want to make sure that I get to the right tabs as we go. So what you can do is, for these, they were already created, but let's say I wanted to create more mental wellness stuff for students. The first thing I want to do is go into Canva. If you haven't already done so, go to canva.com/educator. I believe that Shyla has the link and she can throw it into the chat there. She's nodding. Thanks, Shy. Go there. You can get yourself verified as a teacher. Sometimes if you use Canva and you go and you're like, oh, this is only pro, this is pro, this is pro, and it has the little like the crown on it, you can get around that. Canva is completely free for educators, including their AI stuff that's baked in. It's awesome. You literally just need to send in like your name badge. So that's the first thing I would do, is if you're not already there, and then you get access and you'll see that instead of seeing pro, you'll see it says like EDU, and it's, I forget what the symbol is. Maybe we'll see it when we come up here and I demo it in a second. It's awesome. You can go in and you get everything for free, and you can add students to your class. So they would also have access to all of that to create some really rich stuff. So what does it look like? So the next thing I would do is I would use Canva. Again, we're going back to this, like, how could I create things for my mental wellness in the library learning commons? And in my case, specifically our Zen zone. I'm going to go to canva.com/magic-design. And this is the AI powered stuff for Canva. Now, I've already done some in the interest of time that I've come in here and I've said, okay, I want to create posters about student well-being. You can read this at the top here, focused on mindfulness, include strategies. That's what I wrote. And let's see if it will do it for me again. What it will create, here we go, is some posters. And it'll be like, okay, so let's say mindfulness for students. I'm going to click that and it says, okay, customize this. Yep, let's go ahead. It's going to open up, and today it'll be like, oh, how can we nurture well-being? And notice what it's done is automatically created ideas that I can use. So now I don't have to be, oh yeah, Dennis is sharing that their school division created teacher accounts for Canva. So check if your school's already done that. That's awesome. Again, make sure that it's an approved tool or you're getting the permissions where they need. I love it. I know that we're allowed to use it with permission in our district. It is So now this has created it all for me. So I can now have these weekly that I can put up, or maybe I like some, but not another. I'm like, oh, I'm going to change the wording on this one. And you can also see, come down here, quick actions. I can change different things in here. Like it's so powerful. It's such a powerful tool to do this, to save me some time. And I can create these posters, right? Or it will also suggest, again, because this is the birth of AI was, hey, maybe this would interest you as well, right? Looking through these templates, I can go in and see that there. So this has been really helpful for me when I'm creating things for my Zen Zone. The other thing that I found it's great at doing is book recommendations. So as a teacher librarian, I have students who come to me all the time and they're like, Mrs. Giffen, what should I read? The next book. I loved Fourth Wing, or I loved The Court of Thorn and I'm like, whoa, okay. I am not a big romantasy fan. The romance and the fantasy, I've read a few of them. I'm like, that's good, but I may not know all the ones that the kids are reading. So what I've done is I've gone into where you can use Microsoft Copilot. And I'm like, here are some books that my students like. Here are authors they've liked. Here are series they've liked. What else could you recommend they read? This has a two-pronged approach for me. Number one, I can tell them, hey, here's another suggestion. If they have access, they might be able to go and buy that book. If we don't have it in the library, I've instantly created a book list for me that I can go out and use, because I know this is things students are going to read. Or I could connect them with the public library, because I really believe strongly in that partnership. And I could say, hey, go check these ones out. They have them here, this number of copies, and this is even the branch that you can go to. I think these are really, really great tools that we can use. So I am going to now give you a minute, and I'm going to take a drink of water here to let you try something. If you have access to Canva, or even if you don't, you may not be able to get to the AI without a teacher account, so you might want to try the second one. But if you have access to Canva, try their magic design and try to create a poster or a social media post to promote your next event just by giving it prompts. Remember, the better your prompt, the better your product is going to be. If you didn't check out Danny Leeming's session, I wasn't able to see it because I was in learning about quizzes, which was like mind blowing with Andrew Boronsky last session. But if you are looking to level up your prompts and how to get really great results from AI, check out Danny's. Go back and watch that recording. That's your first option. Your other option is to ask a chatbot of your choice. So that chatbot could be, it could be, we're going to go back here. What do I have here? Copilot. It could be Chat GPT, or it could be Gemini, right? Those are the three that I use. Ask one of those to suggest your next read based on your favorite titles or authors. Okay. As you do that, I'm going to let you sort of type. I will show you that the results can be very different. I'm going to close, like I said, tabs as we go. Keeps me on track. I actually went in and I said, okay, give me a list of things we could do for wellness in the library learning commons. So I'm sort of melding what I showed you about our mental wellness area and the book recommendation and using. I love to use multiple chatbots because I get so many different ideas, and they're going to cull from different sources. Their parameters are different, et cetera, et cetera. And you can see, like, they talk here in Copilot, they broke it down for me in physical wellness, mental, emotional wellness, social wellness, academic, financial. They really broke it down. ChatGPT broke it down into like mindful relaxation, social connections, mental health awareness, movement and energy, makerspace, special events. So Copilot here has broken it down to the types of wellness, whereas ChatGPT broke it down to me in terms of the area that I might want to focus on in the actual library learning commons. Let's see what Gemini did. Gemini just started listing, and with theirs, they actually gave me links to sources. So mindful and meditation sessions. And if I click this link, it opens up. It's like, okay, here is, this is mindful.org. Get started with mindfulness. It explains it to me. So Gemini actually gave me different sources that I could go to seek more information on that topic. And I think that's really important as we go through and ask chatbots. Don't just stick to one. Go through and ask, right? Let's looking at a variety of sources. This is what we do in in our practice, right? Especially as teacher librarians. I see Michelle Armstrong's here. Hi, Michelle. I'm Canva noob. Thanks for the time to play. I signed up for the 30-day free pro trial. It seems like I have access to AI. I'm going to test it. Oh, great. Excellent, Michelle. And make sure when in that 30 days, because the turnaround is really quick, sign up for that teacher or that educator, Canva educator, and you'll have it. And then when your free trial runs out, guess what? Boom, you can absolutely have access to everything beyond that. That's amazing. Okay. Oh, look, all the friends are saying hi. Brian saying hi to Michelle. Charity saying hi to Michelle. I love this. I love that. It's like a family reunion here with all the people I'm seeing. Okay. I don't want to rush anyone, so I'm going to give you a couple more minutes. Shyla, do you have anything you want to add in what we've talked about so far? Or your ideas of like using different chatbots? Have you had any experience with that? I'm putting her on the spot right now, so sorry, I didn't give you a heads up that I was going to do that.
Oh, no, this is great. I was working with a teacher librarian, and she said she put a theme in into Canva,
Yeah,
and she created things for her library design around Winter Wonderland because that was
I
what
love
she was
that.
looking at. I absolutely love it. I was just playing in Canva myself, and as you're talking, and I created a little poster on mindfulness. Wonderful, thank you.
Awesome. No problem. Okay, so Faye is asking, I'm just going to open up the tab again. I'm going to go back. I'm going to show you. There we go. So you want to go to canva.com. I can actually pop it here in the chat. If you're looking for the AI in Canva, the fastest way I get to it, I actually have it bookmarked, I think, on my other account. It's canva.com/magic design. All right. I'm going to close all these up as you go. I'm going to keep my chat bots there. You'll notice I've grouped and pinned tabs everywhere. This is how my workflow works. I actually like that I'm sharing that part of my screen so you can see. I love learning workflow from others. Okay. So the other thing that you can do is you can offer research support rather to students. Oftentimes I have our science department, they'll come in every semester with our AP grade 11 and 12 biology classes. And they're like, we want them to find academic data, like journals to support the labs that we're doing. And then and I've been doing this for 5 years. And I'm like, this is really advanced, but I don't know what they're doing in their classes. And they say this is fine. And finally, one of the teachers was like, yeah, the language is really advanced. Like we can't even really do this. So I'm like, okay, that really helps. So I said, well, why not use AI for this? So I'm going to go into Microsoft Copilot and I'm going to add something here. Let's see if it will do it. I'm going to actually, no, you know what? I'm going to do it in Chat GPT because I know I've done it in here before. So I'm going to come into Chat GPT. I'm going to attach a file from my computer. And I went in and I found something about, this is mRNA vaccines. This is actually the topic that they do. And I'm like, here is this. I went to our databases. This is something that our students actually, is an article that one of them actually used a few weeks ago. And they're like, wow, it's really hard. The academic language was really intense for them. So what I said was, okay, well, let's do this. Now I used it, like I did it with them on my computer using Copilot. Because again, that's what's okay in York region where I am. But I said, okay, summarize this article for me. I am a grade 11 AP biology student. And I'm going to keep my typos in because I am the queen of the typos. And I love that it understands me. And it actually will look through it. See, it says reading the document there. And it says, okay, here's what it says. And it summarizes for them. So if I'm looking for like something that's accessible, like I think this is what I need, and I understand that often the students will understand the abstract or the introduction or the conclusion, but it's the middle part, it can summarize for them. Now, a lot of people might say at this point, like, oh, but then they're not going to read the articles, they're just going to do this. That's fine. If it's an article at their level, I don't think they're going to do this. But if it's above them and they're going to give up, I don't think there's any help or any harm in doing that. I recently went to the optometrist and they told me, they're like, oh, you need to come back for retesting because your peripheral vision's off. I want to test you for glaucoma. Glaucoma is something I have heard about, but nothing that I've really had experience with. And I was like, what is glaucoma? And I look it up and I'm like, oh, it was overwhelming. So I went to Chat GPT and I said, explain glaucoma to me as though I'm in grade 6. I do this all the time. It explained, I'm like, oh, fantastic. This is such a great way. We talk in education all the time about having prior knowledge and being able to latch on to that. So let's build the prior knowledge, even if it's just this. I'm like, okay, I'm reading this article. Okay, now I kind of get things. And then I can dive into the article and have a deeper and better understanding of it as a student. And I think that's a really great way that it can offer research support to our students. The other thing you can do, and this is probably the way I use it the most, which is so silly to me, but it really is a game changer and a time saver for me. Level up your social media presence. So I have an account, RHHS LLC, on Instagram, and we post all the time. And for a long time, I would sit and be like, okay, I have this. Here's an actual thing that we did. Of course, it was National Redhead Day. I'm sure you all know that back on November the 5th. I received all your cards and well wishes. Thank you to no one. And and I put this thing up every year, and the kids think it's a riot. And we actually like post pictures of all of our redhead students and teachers, and it's just a funny little thing that I do. But I was like, I don't want to just say like it's National Redhead Day. Here we go. What can we do? So I said, I'm going to get AI to write my copy for me. So you can see in that blue speech bubble, this is verbatim. I went back and I found it because I'm logged in, what I put into Chat GPT. So write copy for an IG, it knows what IG is, post about National Redhead Day on November the 5th. I'm a redhead and I do this silly display to be a little silly. So that sets the tone. I would like the tone to be a little cheeky, perhaps suggest students could get their favorite ginger teacher librarian a gift for the occasion that's redhead appropriate, like sunscreen and other ideas. That's what I said. Typos in there, grammar's not great. And then you can see on the right there what it looks like. November 5th is the day we pay tribute to the fabulous redheads everywhere. And yes, that includes yours truly, your friendly neighborhood ginger teacher librarian. It included those emojis for me. It includes the hashtags at the bottom. All of that is in there. And I love it for that. For me, I'm like, this is incredible. I have all this time saved and it's really cute and fun. I can, of course, edit it. I don't have to just copy and paste. Typos, like I say here, no problem. So I'm going to do my next little let's try because I want everyone to sort of get a quick feel for what we're doing. Think of something that you might want to advertise in your library learning commons or your school or whatever you're doing right now in your practice, and ask the chatbot to write something for your social media, just like I did. Okay, write something up. Go ahead. If you finish that quickly and you see it, then right as soon as you're done, just say, now can you write something I could put on a poster? And then after that one, now can you write an announcement? And you're going to notice how they change. Those emojis are gone, the hashtags are gone, or maybe it's like something to put on my Google Classroom or my LMS of choice. And you'll see it takes that same sort of, I don't have to reprompt it 100 times. I can now create things that go, and I can tweak it. If I'm like, I don't really like that, I want you to include, oh, here's the time and place, I forgot it, and it continues to iterate. And you'll notice in ChatGPT, anyway, for me on the side here, it keeps everything, so it remembers. If you want to be really brave, as you do this, if you're like, okay, this is fun. If you want to be really brave, if you're logged in to Copilot or Gemini or ChatGPT, ask it, what do you know about me? And see what it comes back with. I did that. It knew my weight, friends. It knew how much I weigh because I'd been looking for a recipe and then I was looking at how much protein I should eat. So I put it in once and it remembers it. That creeped me out. So bear in mind, this is why, again, you want to use approved tools and you don't want to disclose student identity because it will remember it. So be very careful with privacy. I loved it. I thought it was a riot. I had other people in the room do it. Some people got nothing. Other people got way more than they sort of bargained for, if you will. It was very fun. It's a very fun activity. So you can either think of something like this. Again, you're making social media copy, posters, announcements, and see how it changes things up. I love it. Shaila, what are ways that you've used it to save some time?
So I was just going to say, because I'm actually doing my part two for teacher librarian, and one of the ways that I try to, and I guess try to use it and play around with it was advertising myself and marketing myself for other
Mhm.
teachers to invite me into their classrooms.
Absolutely.
I provided prompts and said like, I can do this for you, and this is my availability, and just drafting some emails. Like I'm not huge on social media. You probably know that about me,
Yep.
but
Yep.
I just find it, aside in, not to say I used it for my AQ course, but aside from that, just writing some emails and
Yeah.
just having a conversation with AI back and forth has been super useful. Just rewording a few things. I know my husband said, "I'm going to use it to like write your birthday card for you," and I was like, "Okay, great," because then I might get a really well crafted story in the birthday card.
I did that last year when I was starting on AI. I did it for my husband's Christmas card. And he was like, because he always writes long, beautiful, like sappy, like lovely things to me. And I'm always like, love you. You're awesome. XOJ. Right. And I wrote this. He was like, wow. But okay, I'm gonna tell you this because I don't think he'll watch. And if he watches, oh well, it's gonna spoil. I recently, so for Christmas, we do something you want, something you need, something you wear, something you read. And
Mhm.
I had something for something you read. And then I saw this thing. I don't even remember what it's called, but basically it will write a book as though that person wrote it. So, and I had to answer questions about Trev, my husband, what he does, who's in his family, what their names are, what their ages. I probably, no, in hindsight, gave a little bit more information than I should have. But um, what are things that he says? What are things that he does? What are his favorites, hobbies? And then it generated sort of the outline to a what will be 250-page novel written by Trevor about one aspect of his life. So I did like antics of his job. And like each chapter embeds different people in his life. It looks like it is a riot. So I love it for that, like for gag gifts, it's good. I also do the email thing. I do a lot of emails, especially if
Mhm.
I'm upset. If I'm really emotional about something and I need to remove the emotion, I'll put in
Yeah.
what I need and I say, like, make this sound more professional, take out some of the emotion, take out some of my anger, like tone this down for me because
Mhm.
I'm too riled up because I'm a passionate little redhead. So that's where I go.
No, it's awesome, and I've even used it for like inquiry questions. So if I was
Mhm.
working with the teacher librarian in the library, and we were facilitating a session on asking different questions,
Yeah.
and I have so many questions that I want to do, right, and so many
Yeah.
things that I want to focus on. So it really allows you to put in prompts and ask it to help you modify or think about different things.
Yeah. Oh, I see Brian saying, "What are those ideas?" Yeah, I got it from Pinterest years ago with a family of 5. We thought it would be great. Only 4 gifts each, and then as my boys get bigger, we can each just draw one. So something you want, something you need, something you'll wear, something you'll read. And it doesn't have to be traditional. Like one year for there's something you wear, we bought the kids customized from Etsy superhero capes with their initials on it. So you can be creative with those. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about, but caring is caring. Okay. The other thing I love to do is grant and reference letter writing. I have students come to me all the time say, "Can Mrs. Giffen," like I've never taught them, but they're in the library and I see them and I've helped them. And they're like, "Can you write me a reference letter?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I actually sit with them and I say, "Show me what you have, like what the criteria is for the job or for the scholarship or the whatever." And we get that. And I'm like, "Okay, now let's look at your CV." Okay, pull out your resume and let's tweak it together so it fits this. Now I'm going to say everything I know about you, and I start talking to them, and I'll literally turn on the voice typing, and I'll just like stream of consciousness. I know this, I know this, I know that, and then I pause. I'm like, "What did I miss?" I'm like, "What about this?" I'm like, "Oh right," and so I go, and we do all this together, and then I will upload into chatbot of choice. I'll say, "Here is what I know about this student. Here is their CV. Here is the job or application. Can you write me a reference letter for them?" My name is Jen Giffen. I am the teacher librarian at Richmond Hill High School. And it creates something. I then take that. Then I read it with the student. We tweak it. I'm like, "Okay, I don't love this. I change this, change that." And I did this once with a student. We went through like 5 iterations. And then I took it, I put it into a Google Doc. And I said, "Okay, I'm going to now make this sound like me. I would never say it this way. I would say it that way." And in 20 minutes, I had a beautifully crafted email, or sorry, a reference letter that completely aligned with what this student did beyond what I knew, and aligned with what was needed out of like for in the case it was a scholarship they were applying for. And we did it together, and that collaborative process was so rich. You can do the same thing with grants. I love that thought partner, because sometimes you're in the moment and it's quick. Like you have kids who come and they're like, "I need it tomorrow," and they're like panicking. You want to help them, but you also like you're pressed for time. So I love it for that. The other thing I showed you earlier in my own workflow is to create representative images, right? It's not usual that I'm going to find pictures like you see on the screen here. This was created using Microsoft Designer, right? And the image creator. I love it. I use it all the time for a whole bunch of different things. And this, I think my prompt for this was students working in a library of varied demographic backgrounds include kids from Iran, kids from students who are Black. And I think I even said Chinese because those are the three of the predominant cultural backgrounds and cultural identities in my school. And this was one, it came up with 5, and this is the one that I liked, so I put it in. So I love that. So I'm going to just pause for a second before I go into sharing my 3 favorite tools in the last 20 minutes we have. So I want to give a couple of minutes and share some, I invited people who are watching here to share some ways that you've been using AI in your practice. Maybe things that have sparked like, oh, maybe things that like you haven't even done yet, but you're like, I'd like to try this, or this. In watching everything today in this Explore AI Summit, these are some ideas of what I could do now that I've thought about it. And I'm like, oh, I saw this. Like for me, it's like a deep dive into quizzes. You have no idea, which I fell in love with this tool thanks to Andrew. So it's pretty awesome. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to give people some time to type. And as I do that, we can come back and visit it. But in the interest of time, I am going to keep going. I just want that bank for us in the chat so that people can check it out afterwards, because I don't think I have all the ideas. Shyla doesn't have all the ideas. Like we're not even close to them. And the more I talk to people about AI, the more I realize like, oh, I could do that. My husband actually had something, he's a recruiter, and they have to write profiles for companies about people that they're putting forward. And one of his colleagues is like, I'm spending hours on this. And he's like, well, why don't you just use AI? And she was like, literally just saved her hundreds of hours. And he's like, to him, that was just so like, well, of course you do it. But to her, like she hadn't thought of it that way. So I think the more we can share about how we're using AI, the more rich we're going to the more rich of a sort of a toolbox we have, right? To realize that these are ways. Okay. So here are my 3 favorite tools. The first favorite tool I have is Diffit. Love Diffit. Why does it help me as a teacher librarian? It can quickly differentiate reading material. It can summarize long YouTube videos for me. So if I'm looking for, I want a video that does this, I can throw it into Diffit. I'm going to demo it in a second. And then it'll come up with the thing and be like, nope, that's not the one I want. Because I don't have, let's say, half an hour to watch this whole video. And it can create leveled text for me if that's what I need for students. So let's give it a try. I'm going to demo it. And then if you want to start going in as I'm showing, you are going to need to sign in with either Microsoft or your Google account. Let's go here. No, that one's done. So this is what Diffit looks like at app.diffit.me. So here I am. Student ready resources. I can either enter something. So enter a topic that I want. So I want something on photosynthesis. I want it to be, let's say, at a 9th grade level in English. And I want it to be either informational or fictional text. Okay, generate this resource. And it will be ready to create stuff in Google Slides or Docs or PowerPoint, whatever it happens to be. And here we go. So it has created for me. Can have images. I can include what they are. I'm like, oh, I like which image. I like this image. This is great. It's like, okay, here's what it wrote about it. I can come in and I can edit that. I can have a summary. It comes up with key vocabulary, multiple choice questions that I can edit in real time, short answer, and open-ended prompts. Why do I love this? Because now let's say I am teaching this and I have students in the class that I'm like, oh, they're multi-language learners, let's say, or they are at a different level than the rest of the class. I can say, you know what, I want you to redo this and regenerate it for a student in grade 6. It's like, okay, yeah, no problem. It's going to come and do that in real time. So while it created, I'm going to go back, but now you'll notice it's a little bit simpler in the language. The questions are the same-ish, but they're geared more towards a student at that level. And I find as a teacher librarian, students will come in and they'll be like, oh, and they're like, oh yeah, that kid's like step 1 or like ESL A. And I'm like, oh, so then the next thing I can do is now I'm like, yeah, I want you to actually translate this into simplified Chinese for me. So that student who is, there and wants to participate, maybe has the knowledge, but doesn't have the grasp of the English language yet, I can create this for them. And I can do this not only with something that they've generated, but if I actually go back to Diffit, I can put in some text of my own or upload a PDF that I have. So if I have, let's say, a Word document that I want to cut and paste from, I can put that in, or I can download that as a PDF and put it up. I can also, like I said, get a YouTube link. Let me show you what that looks like. So I have this is AI in the School Library. This is from Future Ready Schools from a year ago. and where it was. And I was very interested in, when I was, looking at this presentation, what I would include. I'm like, I watched some videos and it's like, I'm just going to use some of my tools here. So I went through and I just put the link to that. So if I go back here, I pasted the link right here. And in the interest of time, I have it ready for us. I can print it too, by the way. I can print it. I can export this to Google Forms, or I can export it to a Google, printable document. I can also, on the sides here, if this is what I wanted, create a 3-2-1 reading summary. So these are student activities that are auto-created based on what I've uploaded. I can now look at this and be like, oh, okay, here, I want to adjust the length of this. I want it to be short because I'm previewing this maybe for myself. And I'm like, okay, this is what they said. Okay, I can read that. Great. Or here's a quick summary for me. And maybe I don't even need the stuff underneath, right? I can remove it. I can add questions, like whatever. So I love this as a librarian, because I don't necessarily have the background of the students, right? I don't know when they show up always, because I ask teachers when I have a form that they fill out, when they come to the Learning Commons, I'll talk to them ahead of time, but maybe they had someone, they booked this 3 weeks ago and they've had someone added to their class, because we're continuous entry, right? It's so important for us to be able to reach those students. And I didn't know about them. I now in the moment can create that. I'm not scurrying around trying to be like, oh gosh, how am I going to get something for this kid? The teacher's not like, oh, I don't know what you're showing, or oh, we haven't talked since you did. Like, there's just so much ability. Brian's saying here, it's great for summarizing teacher learning. Yeah, I think it's so great. We don't just need to use it for students. We can use it for ourselves as well. Absolutely, Brian. So if you want a minute, by now, I hope you've logged into Diffit and you want to give it a go and just see what you can do with it. There's many tools that are like this, of course. Like, I actually just learned in the quizzes session, last block that we did here, in the first block in our summit, from Andrew, that a lot of this is baked into quizzes too. So you're going to find this in a variety of tools. I'm tool agnostic at this point. Like, I don't have a tool that I'm like, okay, this is the one, this is the holy grail, so to speak, of tools for me. So whatever you find, but just look if it has these capabilities, because I think it's game changing for us as teacher librarians, for that just in time needs that we have when students are with us. The other way I've used Diffit is if a student comes in and they're like, I have this, but I really don't understand it. I'll load things up for them and I'll be like, okay, yeah, here you go. I'll use these tools to support them, because that's what I am. I'm like, I'm a support person as much as anything. It's not just classes coming in, but I do a lot of like kids asking me, my teacher's teaching, this is my lunch. Are you able to help? Do you know anything about this? It helps me learn it quickly, and it helps me be able to engage the students and meet them where they are. So it's amazing. Okay, the other one I want to do, if you've played with that for a bit, if at any point you've lost me and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm deep diving into Diffit, no problem, pause. And then you can come watch it again when you're ready, or dive into that and then come back and watch the recording, because of course they're all available. All right, so we have Microsoft Designer as well. Why I love this: custom visuals, engaging images, social media promo images if you need them. Yeah, Brian's talking about Adobe Express as the holy grail, but yeah, Adobe Express is great, actually. I love that one too. Okay, so Designer or Image Creator is another really cool one to do. So I'm going to close up my stuff here on Diffit, and it looks like this when you come in. So if you're just playing with it, what I will encourage you to do is just sort of hover over any of these images that you happen to like. You're like, oh, I like, which one do I like here? I like this. Okay, this is kind of fun. So notice that it actually shares with you the prompt that it used. If I click that, it gives me fill in the blank so I can change it. So I don't want a pile of presents. I want a pile of books, okay, with neon colored covers. Oh no, with, you know what? Look, and I go in with neon colors. I'm going to do that. With fantasy images, because my kids are really into fantasy, on bookshelf in a 3D style animation. The background is a library with students collaborating here. And I'm going to generate that. And it's going to take a minute. You'll see all the ones that I've done there on the bottom. It remembers me because I'm logged into my account. And no, up here too, I can change the size. Takes a minute, it does a thing. You'll notice I have these little like lightning things. You have boosts. These boosts every day, I think gives you 15. You can use a boost to get it, to have it generated more quickly for you. They don't cost anything. They just come. Okay, let's see how we did here. Oh, very cool, right? I mean, at least that child likes it. You like that, huh? Isn't it fun? Now, I don't only need to use their prompts, but I find that the more I play with those prompts, the more I can develop good prompts for what they are. Because I can't just say, make a poster about mindfulness for me. I need to describe what I want. So here's what I did. Literally Thursday. It's like, I wonder if do I have it? Is it on this one or did I do it in Canva? I think I did it in Canva. I did. What if I say to Copilot, I want to create a poster about this. What could I include on the poster? What might it look like? So it wrote the prompt for me. I then app smash. I took that prompt, what it wrote, and cut and pasted it into Designer, and boom, it created it for me, which I loved for that. So again, these time-saving elements that I can do, and I may not like it, I can tweak it. I love this. I love this so much. More than anything, I just love that I can see my students' cultures and faces, or faces like theirs, represented in what I'm showing. Because I think seeing yourself on screen, I remember once when Shyla and I were working together, I did a breakout for our department. And I was looking for, it was like March break trips where you could go. And one of them was like a spa retreat. And I was trying to be inclusive with my images. And you know what I noticed? Every single picture I found of someone at the spa, they were white. They looked like me. I'm like, we're not the only people who are going to the spa. Like, what is this? Where is the representation? And it was so eye-opening for me, even as an adult. And we know we see these and we talk about this, there's this study about characters in books and what children see. And so for me, if what I'm showing in my class, even just like little images in my slide decks, when I'm presenting in my social media posts, I want my kids to feel like it's them without being them, because of course I want to keep their privacy, right? I'm not going to back of heads and hands, right? Unless they've signed off on that. So that's really important to me. So that's another way that I use AI. You can absolutely give that a go if you want to. You do need a Microsoft account. It's free to sign up for one, but you can play with that as well. That's another one I would encourage. The last one that I will just touch on really briefly is TeachAid. Why I want to show TeachAid is because it's Canadian, and I love that. So for those of us, I imagine a vast majority of us are probably from Canada. It helps with unfamiliar curriculum. For me, I'm expected to be an expert in all curriculum areas. I have, like, my teachables are English and math. I'm a little bit of a unicorn that way. And then I have, I have special ed and I have library and this, but like when the science department comes to me, when social sciences come to me and they're like, okay, Jen, can you do this? I'm like, I really don't know your curriculum. And I can go through the documents in this, but I love that AI can now support me and offer engaging ideas to help me. Yay. Oh, you do work with Nadeem. Yeah. Yay. Brian's talking about using it in BC. Yeah. Nadeem's really great. He's the guy behind TeachAid, and he's really great. So totally reach out to him if it's something that interests you. But so it's at teachaid.ca, and Shiley's put that in the chat for us. And it can do a whole bunch of things. So you come here and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to create new. Well, what do I want? A full unit? Or do I want to create just a lesson? Or do I want some of these, an assessment, a rubric, an intro activity, a lesson content, consolidating? What is it? So I, again, in the interest of time, because I know I always go over, have generated something already. And I was just on a field trip yesterday with our grade 10 science class, and they were talking about climate change. So I went into this and I said I wanted a single lesson. And then I said, the curriculum is, you notice how many curriculums they have there. It's amazing. So I went down to Ontario. For those of us in Canada, let's see, we have British Columbia. We have, who else? I saw Manitoba was in here. Dennis was in here. We have, like, I'm pretty sure most of the provinces in Canada at least are, and you'll see there's like lots of states and even other countries too, right? New Zealand's in here. It's fantastic. I said, we're in grade 10. The subject is science. These are the subjects for now. They are limited. Now they're just building it because they are fairly new. So I want science, and I want the strand about, I think I said climate change. Here we go. And then I want it in English. I want all the overall expectations or just some. No problem. I want, some or all of the specific expectations. And then you can request. How long is my lesson? I said it was 75 minutes. And yeah, I want themes of climate change and sustainability. And I can also add my own, right? But that in here, can type that. So I then hit generate. It's going to take some time. And what was produced was this. So a lesson overview, some goals, and some success criteria. There we go. And then hold on, there we go. Open the interactive lesson. And oh, did not start it. We're going to auto generate it, or I can start my own. And all of a sudden it's going to come up with my slides for me. Again, remember I said that plus AI, and I'm like, oh, it's now behind a paywall. Guess what's not? Teach aid. So you have everything there and you want those created for you. Again, all editable. This is really great. And again, as a teacher librarian who is not an expert in all the subjects, I think tools like this are real game changers. Even to get started and then go to that co-creation with our partner teachers is really great, because when they come to me, I'm like, I'm going to do a lot of this heavy lifting, but there's only so much time in my day to be able to learn all that content. So this can help me. And then they can come in as a subject expert and be like, that's not quite it. Let's tweak this and let's go here, but we at least have a basis for it. And I think that is so wonderful. So if you want to give that a try, you can. You just need to sign up as a teacher, use whatever account you want. You can sign in with Microsoft or with Google, I believe. And that's it. So some ideas that I have for moving forward to the end, I would love to see something about creating a Library Learning Commons chatbot where students can come and the questions that were asked a lot are already fed into there. Like we feed parameters to it. Maybe students do that. Maybe it's my CS department. I'm not sure how it looks, but that's something that I'm toying with. And do some data drilling. Like look at what is my collection borrowing looking like? What hours, because like kids can log in when they come to the library, what hours are we the most busy? So when should we run programming? Looking at our calendar, exporting that data. What times of year are we busy to make sure that we're not overbooking. So when people ask us early in the year, like, oh, hey, can I have, I don't know, can I book the whole library for this day for a CPR training? I might be like, we're really busy that week. And historically, could we move it to this instead? So using AI to help drill the data that might seem really overwhelming. Even looking at like our nonfiction collection. Okay, what moves a lot in our nonfiction? Where are ideas that we might want to support? What are some trends that I'm seeing? Faye is saying Forest of Reading. Will AI create activities? And I could give, oh yeah, for sure, Faye, for sure it would do that. If you're not familiar with Forest of Reading, it's a reading program here in Ontario that's run by the Ontario Library Association. It's phenomenal, but you could absolutely do that. Be like, here's the book and go. And if they don't have the book in, it depends sort of like what chatbot you're using. You'd be able to feed it enough parameters to use it as that thought partner. Absolutely. One thing I thought of today, or sorry, yesterday, Thursday, I had this like AI thing on Thursday. I was like, you know what I need to do? I'm going to take all of our books that we have in the library, because I can export that. I'm going to put it into a spreadsheet. And then when kids come and ask me, like, do you have a book on this? I don't know my whole collection. I have thousands of books. If I load that spreadsheet that maybe has the title and the author, and that's it, because AI can search it. I might be like, hey, do we have books on, I'm trying to think of something niche, like like on Brazilian philosophy. And I could put that in and just say, okay, or do we have books on the metaverse? Like, give me a suggestion of books that we have in here. And I can pull it, I think, faster using AI than I would be able to use it with the database system that we have. Or maybe it's just a topic and it hasn't been flagged that way. So like, I'm really into sports. Do you have fiction on sports? So I load that whole list, that CSV of all of our books, and I say, give me 10 titles in our collection that would interest a kid who is looking for a fiction book about sports. And I'm thinking it's going to pull it out. I don't know for sure, but that's my next way to explore. So I will leave it there with any questions that people have. Oh, I've done it before and it's known the book. Oh, that's cool, Shai. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. But we do only have 3 minutes left. I know that Shyla has a few things that she wants to end us with.
Thank you so much, Jen. I learned so much from you. I didn't know about Teach Aid, so that was an amazing addition. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge about all the different tools and your personal experiences with us today. Lots of great information and lots of questions that came through the chat. I just wanted to remind everybody, when we started, we talked about the live co-taught lessons that we are going to be having every day during the CS Ed Week at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. And that particular link is on the on the side if you're in the slide deck, and I will also just quickly drop it into the chat for you. So thank you so much again for coming. That's great, lots of information. And we also have a quick feedback if you could provide. If you'd like to see more of these type of sessions, that's super useful for us. The slide deck is there again as well. And if you have any questions after today, please feel free to email us and get some of that information for you. And I'm just going to drop the registration link in for the event because that might be fun thing for you to do with your students in their live streamed events. So a lot of students tend to like those. So I dropped in that link for you as well. So thank you again so much for being here with us today. We do have one more time slot. I know Jen mentioned the Canvas session that's happening. I'm doing a session on Copilot in the next session. So if you want to go dive into more specifically just Copilot, definitely check that out. And have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. And thanks again so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining. Thanks for supporting, Shyla.
Bye.